They laughed when she walked into the briefing room without saying a word. They laughed even harder when she sat in the back corner, eyes down, hands folded. But nobody was laughing 3 days later when she became the only soldier in Delta Force history to neutralize a target at 2,147 meters in complete darkness during a sandstorm. Before we continue, drop a comment below and tell us which city or country you're watching this from. Her name was Sergeant First Class Keira Ashford, 29 years old, from the forgotten corners of rural Wyoming where the wind speaks louder than people do. Her father, a quiet ranch hand, taught her that silence wasn't weakness, but the sharpest tool a person could wield. He never raised his voice, not when the bank took their land, not even when her mother left for a life in Denver. He just nodded, tightened his jaw, and kept working. Keira learned early that actions carved truth into the world in ways that words never could. When she was 16, her father died in his sleep. She found him in the morning, still and cold. She didn't cry. She simply closed his eyes and made the arrangements. People whispered that she was heartless. They were wrong. She felt everything. She just refused to perform her grief for an audience that never cared when he was alive. At 18, Keira enlisted in the U.S. Army. Basic training was supposed to break recruits, but for Keira it was just Tuesday. She excelled at every challenge, but her quiet demeanor unsettled her drill sergeants. While others screamed through obstacle courses, Keira moved with steady, quiet precision. Her silence became legendary, then intimidating. Other soldiers called her Ghost, not for her stealth, but because she seemed to exist on a different frequency. She didn't care about the nickname. She cared about marksmanship. The first time she held an M4 carbine, something just clicked. On the range, she was patient, her breathing slow, her groupings impossibly tight. Her instructor, a grizzled sergeant, saw her potential and recommended her for sniper school. The U.S. Army sniper course has a 70% attrition rate. It's designed to filter out everyone except the most disciplined and mentally resilient. Keira arrived to find a group of experienced infantrymen who were convinced she didn't belong. The lead instructor, a hard-eyed staff sergeant named Crow, made it his mission to break her. He gave her the worst assignments, the longest watches, the most brutal critiques. He was waiting for her to snap. She never did. When ordered to lie in a freezing creek bed for 6 hours, she did it without comment. It drove him insane. She'd learned long ago that giving people emotional ammunition was the fastest way to lose a fight. One night in the barracks, a corporal named Dietrich started ranting about how standards had dropped, implying Keira didn't belong. The room went silent as Keira stood up and walked over to him. He grinned, ready for a fight. Instead, she spoke quietly. "You talk a lot. But tomorrow, during the unknown distance drill, you're going to miss your first target because you can't control your breathing when you're stressed. You'll overcompensate and miss the second one, and you'll spend the rest of the day wondering why someone who doesn't belong here is outperforming you." The next morning, that's exactly what happened. Dietrich failed the drill. Keira shot a perfect score. She graduated third in her class. For 2 years, she deployed to combat zones, saving lives with her rifle. She was an outsider, respected for her skills, but never truly part of the team. Then, a letter arrived in Afghanistan. Her Uncle Ray, her only remaining family, had died. That night, alone in her bunk, Keira cried for the first time since she was 16, silently, so no one would ever know. 6 months later, back in the States, she applied for Delta Force selection. Delta Force is the most secretive and grueling assessment in the U.S. military, with a 90% failure rate. Most applicants are seasoned Special Forces operators. Keira was just a sniper with a reputation for being emotionally unavailable. But someone in the selection cadre saw something in her file and invited her. The other candidates, polite but dismissive, treated her like a statistical inevitability, someone who'd be gone in days. The first week was physical hell. Ruck marches, timed runs, brutal obstacle courses. Keira's smaller frame made it tough, but she finished every event, scraping by. The cadre marked their clipboards, mentally writing her off. The second week was land navigation. Here, Keira thrived. Her patience and attention to detail were her greatest strengths. While others rushed and got lost, she moved methodically, hitting every checkpoint. The cadre started watching her with a newfound curiosity. The third week was psychological warfare. Sleep-deprived and isolated, candidates faced aggressive interrogations designed to break them. They screamed at Keira, dug into her past, accused her of being cold and damaged. She gave them nothing. It wasn't an act. After 3 hours, the lead interrogator leaned back. "You're either the most disciplined candidate I've ever seen, or you're a sociopath." Keira replied, "Does it matter which, as long as I complete the mission?" By week 4, only 30% of the candidates remained. The final test was a simulated hostage rescue in a shoot house. Keira was put on a team with 3 former Rangers who assigned her a support role. The scenario began with explosive chaos. As they moved through the rooms, the team leader froze. A hostile role player began targeting hostages. They had seconds before the mission was lost. Keira moved. She sidestepped her team leader, firing 3 rounds into the hostile. As he dropped, another threat appeared from behind a false wall. Most shooters would be hit with tunnel vision, but Keira's peripheral vision had already caught the movement. She pivoted smoothly and put 2 rounds into the second hostile before he could even raise his weapon. Total time, 3.2 seconds. The room went silent. The evaluators exchanged glances. "How did you see the second one?" her team leader asked. Keira lowered her rifle. "I didn't stop looking." 3 days later, Keira was selected for Delta Force's operational training course. Her first year was a baptism by fire, missions that never officially happened, in places that don't exist. She was one of the best snipers in the unit, but still an outsider. That all changed in Syria. Her squadron was supporting a CIA operation to extract an informant. Intelligence said light resistance. Intelligence was wrong. They walked into a massive ambush. The extraction team was pinned down, taking heavy casualties. Keira, providing overwatch from a nearby rooftop, watched in horror as her team was overwhelmed. The squadron commander gave the order to retreat, to leave the informant and the fallen soldiers behind. But Keira couldn't. She ignored the retreat order. She knew the area, every alley and rooftop. For the next hour, she became a ghost. Moving from position to position, she took impossible shots, picking off enemy machine gunners, grenadiers, and commanders. She sowed chaos and confusion among the enemy ranks, forcing them to fall back and giving her team a window to recover their wounded and regroup. When reinforcements finally arrived, they found a battlefield littered with neutralized hostiles and a shaken but living extraction team. Keira was still on a rooftop, rifle hot, a small pile of spent casings beside her. She had single-handedly turned the tide of the battle. Back at base, the mood was different. The men who had once kept their distance now looked at her with awe. That night, her team leader, a man who had barely spoken to her for a year, walked up with 2 beers. He handed one to her. "We wouldn't be here without you, Ghost," he said. And for the first time, the name didn't sound like an insult. It sounded like a title. Keira Ashford never became talkative or outgoing. She was still the quiet woman from Wyoming, but she was no longer an outsider. She was part of a team, a family forged in fire. They didn't need her to tell them her stories or share her feelings. They saw her truth in her actions. Because in the world of Delta Force, where silence and precision are the ultimate virtues, Keira had finally found a place where she didn't just belong, she was revered. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. We'll see you in the next one.